Hello everyone. In today's video I'm going to show you how to get to the diffs of the FMS FMT 124 scale Chevy Colorado. So just to clarify, this particular model comes fitted with all metal gears and metal shafts, but however my 7-year-old son managed to do it, I don't know. He did manage to slightly strip one of the small metal gears, and it so happens to be this is the most difficult to access metal gear because this is at the bottom of the inside of the diff itself, so you actually have to take the whole assembly out, and furthermore you actually have to disassemble the diff itself, take all the gears out in order to reach that one. And he only managed to slightly wear that out. I don't know how, but he did manage to do it, and it will start skipping, and you can hear it's kind of like a dry metal noise. There was a bit of lube inside, but probably not as much as I would have expected. In this particular case, I'm going to show you how to get to the rear diff, only because it's slightly easier to do, but the major difference is whereas here you just have to unglue this and take all of this bit apart, at the front one additionally you have to take the front bumper out, but you also have to loosen up the servo tray. Probably you don't need to take the whole assembly out, but you have to loosen it up from the bottom of the car, and from there enough to be able to take these two screws out, lift it ever so slightly, and the diff assembly comes out. So I'm going to show you how to do the rear one. They are exactly the same diffs, exactly the same gears. They're all metal gears, as you can see, and this is the replacement parts. So they sell you all the gears that you need, apart from the diff case itself. If you need the diff case for whatever reason, if you've broken the diff case, which is very unlikely, you have to buy the whole diff assembly that comes with the arms and such. So this came from CML originally, and that is the FMS part number that you need to get. In the unlikelihood that you strip one of these metal gears, I must say this seems to be very good quality metal, but this in the hands of a 7-year-old, God knows what he's done to strip that. So this is going to be, or probably going to be, a fairly long-winded video. I'm going to try to do this in one go without any editing, so bear with me on that one. And if you want to skip any of the parts, by all means. This requires to take the wheelie bar out. That suspension strut comes out. I need to loosen up that little center cover as well, and then once all of that is loosened up, the whole diff assembly literally comes out, and then I'll show you how to get to the diff itself. So with no further ado, we're going to start with the shaft cover. Again, I'm going to try to do this in one go without the need of editing, so if you want to skip the part where I take the bolts out, by all means, just make sure you kind of understand the sequence of taking it out. So I've had to do this before, as I said. This is a bit of a tricky one because there's no much space between that screw there and the motor itself, so you can see the motor actually slightly overlaps the screw mount, but it's easy. So actually one of the first things I want to do, you don't necessarily need to take the wheels out, to be honest, but I like to take the wheels out because it's one less chunky thing I need to worry about, one less thing in front of you to deal with. But again, you don't necessarily need to take the wheels out. It's only for you know, I like to work with a bit of extra space, and the wheels, although not too big, I find that they get in the way, and I've done this twice already. This is going to be the third time I do it, just for the purposes of showing you how to get there. So the next thing you do is to take may not necessarily be the right one, is to take the whole the shocks out. Well, you don't need to take the shocks out, but you need to disassemble the main top mount screw so you can take this mount out. The other option is that you could take the screw, the shock screw from the bottom, and then once you take that mount out, it comes out with the shock. So it's either or. There's no particular better way of doing it, to be honest. So it comes out of the way, and then the other one because these are quite long screws, they are a bit annoying to take out, so it takes a bit more effort to pull them out. And I really don't like to use power tools because I think you know, I normally wear sometimes these screw heads by myself without even using power tools. And the reason why I don't like to use power tools is that you can easily tear one of these heads out, and that's why I keep swapping between these two different ones, because one is slightly bigger than the other, these screw tips. Oh, that's not the right one. That's why I couldn't get anywhere with this. That's not what I want. I want this one. There you go. That should work now. There you go. So that comes out. You take this little mount, shock and body mount out. You don't necessarily need to take the wheelie bar out as well, because the wheelie bar, I'm going to show you, the diff cover is divided in two halves, and really the wheelie bar is attached to one of the halves, so you don't necessarily need to take the wheelie bar out because it will come out with the diff cover. So, and then you have to unscrew these two as well. I think it will have to be with this one at the bottom, and that frees up these two mounts here, and these are the two final mount screws that allow the whole thing to be lifted, and then allowing you to get to the rear diff. I just need to find the bloody screw head. There you go. So there's no fear, or you should not be fearful here, of mixing the screws together, because they're pretty much the same thing. So there's three different types of screws. Here, one you can keep. So the body mount, they use two different screws. The longer ones are for the shocks, and all of the other screws are exactly the same size, as you can see there. So don't be fearful of mixing them together, because it really doesn't make much of a change. They're all exactly the same size, so they should. And I think this is these screws are a nightmare. You can kinda, if you're not careful, you can kinda wear their little heads out. And again, I'm dwelling on the same crap, but that's one of the reasons why I don't like to use power tools, because you can flatten them quite easily. So once all the screws are out, you just need to lift that. You don't need to take the whole assembly, the whole arms out. You just lift it, and then I knew I forgot something. There you go. You have to release the diff assembly from underneath the body as well, the chassis, sorry, it's not the body. That's why it wouldn't come out. I forgot this little important detail. And I'm supposed to know my stuff. There you go. I've done this 2 times. This is the 3rd time, so I'm supposed to know this stuff by now. So again, the front diff is more or less the same thing. You just need to loosen up the servo tray in order to be able to get to the diff before I strip that. I'm going to use this tip here, just loosen up. It's not difficult. It's one of those things that people complain about. Oh, it doesn't come with hexes, it comes with Phillips screws and this and that. To be honest, I've got models that come, both models that come with hexes and others that come with Phillips screws. I've never flattened the Phillips screw, bit weird, but I've never flattened, but I have a few hexes where I flatten them out, I'm afraid. So, right, and this is the diff, pretty much a diff assembly. So what I was trying to explain is that the diff cover is divided in 2 halves. One half that way, one half that way, hence why you don't need to bother taking the wheelie bar out. Right, so next thing you have to do, or you do have to do, is take these bits out. I keep forgetting the bloody name for them. And then I'm going to need another small tool because I need to take out a couple of rubber O-rings. So these metal thingies here are the ones that are securing the 2 halves in place. But in order for you to take these metal balls, or whatever the name is, so not a ball, circumferences or whatever, in order for you to take these out, you have to take these little O-rings out, because these are the ones that are securing these metal thingies there. Okay, so it's quite important. Don't try and rush, or oops, there you go. Don't try and force these out, because you have to take these O-rings out first. Otherwise, you'll end up damaging the O-rings. And then again, I couldn't see spare O-rings. Obviously, you could probably buy similar O-rings from from an O-ring box kind of thing. But some of these measurements can be a bit difficult and tricky to find, so don't force them out. And then you just work your way around, again, without forcing it out. You just work your way around, and it will come out as easy as that. But that's why I normally use a flat, very small flat tip, just to work my way around it, like that, and off you go. And that's it. And it comes out as easy as that. So that's your, what's the bloody name for it now? Shaft gear, whatever. I forgot. So, because I've changed this already, it has plenty of lube anyway. And that is pretty much your diff gear. All right. So you do have 2 bearings at each end. Okay, and this is pretty much your diff. Okay, so that little gear there is the one that sits in here. Okay, I'm not going to open this just for the sake of showing. I probably should, but I can't be bothered because this is the 3rd time I would be opening this and I can't. So, but the way you open this little diff is there's a little, probably you can't see from here. Right. So you have to, you've got 4 little, very minute Phillips screws there. You have to unscrew them. And then once you unscrew them, this metal gear head comes out, okay? And again, that little gear, which my 7-year-old managed to strip, is there at the far bottom, okay? And you can see the end of that gear there. So it sits like that, and you have to open that out, and then once that comes out, you will find all these 4 little gears. So again, the best bet is with a very, very minute bit, you take them out, because they are together, fitted into little metal rods. So you take them out in one go, and then you can reach the gear that sits again like that. And then the gear comes out, you fit your new gears in. My advice is, if you strip that gear out and you buy a new set of gears, fit them all. Don't just swap one, just swap them all. That's my best advice. And that is pretty much it for today's video. It was basically to try and show you how to get to that. And very annoyingly, the gear that seems to take the majority of the, forgive me my expression, the weight when the gear assembly is rotating to give power to the wheels, seems to be that one. I don't know why, but it seems to be that one. And it so happens to be the most difficult gear to get to. It doesn't take much. If you only need to strip ever so slightly, a little bit of that, and that's what happened here. My 7-year-old managed to strip the sides of it, probably because there was no lube reaching this bit of gear. But he did manage to strip ever so slightly that, and that's what you need. You only need to strip that ever so slightly, and you'll start hearing like a metal dry noise, and you won't have as much power going to the rear wheels as you have to the front wheels, or vice versa, whichever gear you manage to strip. So that was it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you all soon.